And welcome in, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. We got the Philly Sports Guy, and, of course, that was a very short-lived trip for Stat Guy there. Already gone. How's it going?
Yeah, what happened there? Yeah, I guess I didn't even realize he disappeared. He's like, poof. Anyways, I don't know if you guys heard the moment that I literally said it just as we went to get started here. Cowboys Jones won't rule out extension for McCarthy.
Really?
Dallas Cowboys owner and general manager Jerry Jones said he isn't ruling out a contract extension for head coach Mike McCarthy. I don't think it's all, Jones said during his weekly appearance on 105.3 The Fan. This is a Super Bowl winning coach. Mike McCarthy has been there and has done that. He has great ideas. We got a lot of football left.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, he did hang on to Jason Garrett for a decade. So, I mean, I guess anything's possible. Doesn't really make any sense. But, I mean, if you were thinking about making a move, seems like now would be that time, right? Because that team's going to be terrible next year.
Is it? You know, I mean, I guess it's going to be just as good as it is this year.
Yeah, I'm not hearing the difference.
So, you know what? I agree with you. I'm like, I wouldn't keep him, but it isn't. Hey, when I was there, maybe he heard me when I was saying, hey, Jerry, I love what you're doing with the team. Love it.
It's the best.
My favorite.
Your Comcast came to my computer on that one.
Oh, is that what happened?
I don't know what happened. Like right when the video ended, my screen went black, and all of a sudden I was on my desktop with no internet tabs open.
Oh, funny. Yeah, like you were there for like a half a second, and then poof. I was just like, oh, okay. So it's Stat Guy of old.
I was gonna say you have a new football team to start rooting for next year.
Yeah.
The UFL has confirmed that the Seattle Dragons will be returning in 2026 as one of the 2 expansion cities.
Okay. All right. I mean, it makes
sense. What's the other expansion?
There's 3 cities that are being considered: Louisville, Orlando, and Canton. And I think Canton's obviously going to get one because that's where the championship game has been played the last couple of years. It just makes sense to put a team there.
Yeah. Well, and the Seattle one coming back made sense because not only was it a good team, it was a playoff team, but it was one of the better attended franchises of the XFL. So it does make sense that they would bring that one back. Weird that their other expansion wouldn't have also been on the West Coast, or at least Vegas. Because
Vegas attendance was so bad, that's why.
Well, but that's because they couldn't get a stadium deal done. Yeah. But the trip west to only have one team seems kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more so the attendance game where St. Louis has the attendance, Seattle will have the attendance. Canton, I guess, always drew well for the championship game. So if you get one there, your attendance will be well there. Birmingham always draws well. I think Louisville would draw well too, just because they don't actually have any professional teams in Louisville. And granted, the UFL is not going to be considered a professional team, but it's still a football team. So I think Louisville would actually draw well if they put it there instead of Canton.
No, UFL is considered a professional team.
Well, it's not one of the 5 major professional sports leagues. Like Louisville is one of those cities where it's a college town. Louisville Cardinals are what you root for in Louisville. So if you put a team in Louisville, I think they would draw really well.
Yeah, you root for the Kentucky Derby.
That's right. Yeah. No, I mean that'll be good. I mean, the fact that they're expanding gives you some hope that maybe that league has a chance, right?
I doubt it.
You think it folds up?
Yeah, I think it's gonna serve its purpose. You know, truth of the matter is that I think that they should lessen the season to about 12 games. You know, they got too many games right now. I think it's 16.
They only play 10.
Yeah, I was going to say they play a college season.
They only play 10 games. 12 if you make the playoffs, obviously, because then you have 2 playoff rounds.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No, it's a short season.
You're probably thinking of when the XFL and the UFL were separate, because the XFL had weeks 1 through 8 by themselves, and then the UFL started in week 9 of the XFL because then you had both leagues kind of overlapping then. So that ended up being like essentially a 22-week season with both leagues going at the same time.
Gotcha. Oh, Joe, I guess you didn't hear.
Yeah.
Are you showing up late for the show? Because I tell you, I have the thing right here that they are going to give McCarthy an extension. How about them Cowboys?
Where's Jay when you need him?
Right. Yeah, he always finds a way to miss shows where
good stuff comes out.
Yep.
The fact that Jerry Jones is admitting that an extension is not out of the possibilities for Mike McCarthy leads me to believe that he already has his mind made up and that he's going to give Mike McCarthy this extension.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like we all can acknowledge that, right? As soon as he hints at stuff, it tends to happen. So, like going all in, right? You're glad.
Yep, there's
okay.
Comcast.
Okay.
There's Comcast right there.
I mean, all caps makes me wonder. Like, are you glad or are you? I'm glad.
I'm really glad.
I'm really glad that I'm about to strangle Jerry Jones. So,
what's happening, Snowman? That is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about that. Like, I wouldn't personally be that excited, but if you are, that's great because it's probably going to happen. But
so, I gotta ask this question. I want to ask this of you guys, and I want to see what you guys come up with. Could you name a top 10 power rankings in the NFL right now?
That's actually what I was working on this morning.
I probably could. Well, I wouldn't be at because everyone's is going to be different, but I could probably put one together.
Yeah, what do you got?
Lions 1.
Okay.
I think that's definitely the consensus choice.
Yeah, that's who I would have. Yeah.
I'd go Eagles 2.
Okay.
I'd go Buffalo 3.
All right.
Kansas City 4.
Okay.
Honestly, I would go the Packers 5 just because of the way they're winning right now.
Okay.
I'd go Baltimore 6.
Nice.
Minnesota 7.
Okay.
Chargers 8 because the Chargers have played well and they played the Ravens well last night. I'd go Steelers 9.
Interesting. Okay.
10's where it gets tough. I would probably still put the Cardinals at 10, even though they lost to Seattle. Because the Cardinals are still a team that I think, if they get hot, can make a little bit of noise in the playoffs. So I'd probably put the Cardinals at 10. With Seattle kind of right there at 11 with them.
Interesting.
That is.
Yeah, actually, that was what interested me. I figured we'd be close on the top 5. That we'd all be close on the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Eagles second too, as well. I think Detroit's number 1. Eagles are number 2. I mean, I guess I got Buffalo at number 3. Although, even though they beat the Chiefs in the regular season, I still kind of have the Chiefs as 3 and 3A. They're like they're tied for third place for being the number 1 team in the AFC.
If Kansas City wouldn't have struggled with Carolina last week, and I would have put them at 3. It's the fact that they struggled with Carolina that I had to drop them to 4 because that just goes to show you that there are a lot more flaws than what people think in Kansas City because they played one of the worst teams in the NFL and almost lost.
Yeah. Okay. They actually. So what made me spawn this was that who is this? The NFL Power Rankings from the Score staff is what I'm reading. They got the Lions number 1, the Bills number 2, the Eagles number 3, the Chiefs number 4, the Ravens number 5, the Vikings number 6,
Okay.
Packers 7, the Steelers 8, the Seattle Seahawks number 9.
That's interesting.
Okay.
And the Chargers at 10. Broncos 11, Texans 12, Washington 13, Arizona 14, Miami 15.
So in other words, pretty much the same thing I had for the top 10 with just a little bit of
Seattle being added into there.
But then everything else is pretty much like 1 through 9, one or two teams shifting. I think like it's the top 7 where everyone would be agreement on who the top 7 are. And then 8 through 10 is, I think, where people are going to be like, well, this team could be 8, this team could be 10. But realistically, I think it's those top 7 teams that have kind of set themselves apart from the rest of the NFL a little bit. And then you have kind of another group of like 5 that kind of falls in that 8 through 12 range.
Yeah, see, like for me, I actually have almost exactly the first 5 that you just listed. I have the Lions, Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens. But then I have the Steelers at 6. Vikings at 7, Packers at 8, Chargers at 9, Broncos at 10.
Steelers at 6, Vikings at 7, Packers at 8.
Yep.
I guess that game will get determined. They play each other one more time, right?
Yeah.
For Vikings and Packers?
Yes.
Yeah, week 17, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll determine there.
Yeah, no Niners.
The Niners are 25.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Niners are pretty much done. Daniel Jones seems like he's trying to find his way there, though. He did clear waivers, and he said he won't go to the Raiders because the Raiders were interested because, they're without a quarterback. Daniel Jones obviously doesn't care about starting so much. He basically said that he wants to go to a contender, which could either mean he's not going to play football, except the Niners, potentially, depending on what happens to Purdy. I mean, Daniel Jones is probably better than their backup with a broken finger, right?
I mean, he's better than Brandon Allen. He's better than Josh Dobbs. So at least he's going to have – I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be a Sam Darnold 2.0, obviously.
Sure.
But you'd be putting Daniel Jones in a team where he's going to have the most weapons he's ever had. Even though they're missing some of the weapons they have, and guys like George Kittle isn't 100%, Debo might not be 100%, and obviously Christian McCaffrey's not 100%. It's still more weapons than Jones has ever had, and it's by far the best offensive line he's ever had. So maybe he can do something a little bit.
Well, I mean, some protection probably would help him complete passes. I mean, that's fair to say.
Here's what I wonder. All right, because we know what his record is in professional.
Sure.
What was his record at Duke?
Well, I don't know.
I can look that up. I think he was only a 1-year starter or like a 1.5-year starter. He didn't even start he was like Mitch Trubisky, who had the one good year, and that's kind of what he banked on.
Yeah, I can honestly say I watched no Duke football.
Me neither. That's what I was saying. When they picked him at number 6, I was like, what? Pick 6. That's right. That's what he's going to be known for, pick 6.
That's right.
So Daniel Jones was 9-3 as a starter in his final year of college, and he was 13-5 overall.
All right.
I mean,
for a Duke team that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad.
It's like
I didn't even know he went to Duke, so clearly it left an impact.
Well, I only know it because I remember I was interviewing Giants fans at that draft. I was in Nashville interviewing people, and then they picked Daniel Jones, and I went back to the Giants fans with the interview. I was like, hold on. Yeah, like finish the interview. They pick. I'm like, let me go back to him and see what he's got to say now.
Right?
It was
they've been looking stupid for a minute, Joe. So
okay.
Good.
Yeah, I read that wrong. So he was 13-5 his last 2 years, but overall he played in 36 games, started 30 games, and he was 20-10 as a starter. So I mean, still 20-10 as a starter, that's a 666 winning percentage, which
that's not bad.
No. And then he had 52 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, which I mean that's a par for the course. But he also had like 21 rushing touchdowns. So I mean the guy got to the end zone.
Okay. But he went to Duke, which means I mean, I guess that's ACC, right?
Yeah, Duke's ACC, yeah.
So who's in the ACC that he played against?
North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson, Miami. Back then, obviously, that's when Clemson was dominating the ACC and Florida State was up there. So
Miami stunk.
Those are pretty much two guaranteed losses when you had Florida State and Clemson sitting the way they were sitting back then. He probably lost to Notre Dame because Notre Dame would always play North Carolina as like one of their, or Duke as one of their games that they would play during their independence.
One of their scheduled wins.
Yeah. But I mean, that was the first winning season Duke had in like 23 years when he was a starter. So, I mean, at least he got something. I think that's why he was drafted as high as he was drafted, just because he was the first quarterback that had a winning season in over 2 decades there.
You are correct there. I assume that's Mac talking about that. Yeah, fans were not happy about the Jones pick. So they could have gotten him much later. But
yep. Or someone else.
Dang. Somebody had Barkley on his team and still lost her. Well, he had nobody else good then.
Right? Like that's got to be that. Did they start anyone else?
Either that or you just had like 5 or 6 guys on a bye week. So, I mean, half your team was missing and you probably still ended up with over 100 points because Barkley had over 50.
Something like that.
I mean, right? Either that or whoever they played had an insane day. And yeah, of course, we're going to talk about Danny Dimes because he was turning down his chance to go be a Raider. Now, I get that decision, though. I also would not want to go tank the rest of my career options by finishing out the year with a Raiders team that probably won't win another game.
Got ya. I got to find out what happened. Now I'm looking at my fantasy team because my fantasy team lost this week. I still happen to be in first place in my division with a 5-7 record.
Wow.
With my fantasy team. So, but, and I still have really good, players, but, and I play the number 1 team this week. He's got the number 1 in points. I'm number 2 in points.
Okay.
But oh well.
Yeah, in my pick'em, I took a flyer on the Chargers yesterday because I was like, well, I got 4 games to make up now 5. But I was like, the Chargers actually should have squared up against them pretty well, and they did. The first half, like that game was tight, and it was really the fourth quarter that they couldn't stop Henry anymore. But I didn't know what Ravens team was going to show up, right? Was it the Ravens team that was actually going to use Derrick Henry, or was it the Ravens team that forgets he's on the roster? And it only took them the first half to realize that they should probably use Derrick Henry.
No, I saw that. I mean, although the second half was, they kind of pulled away. So
no, that's what I mean. It was all Ravens in the second half. Like there was a garbage time score. Otherwise, they were up by 2. So, yeah, he's not going there either, Joe. He specifically said that he wants to go for a team that can challenge, that a playoff contender. And I feel like we can all acknowledge that the Cowboys aren't going to be playoff contenders this season. So I don't think that's going to be, I don't think that's going to be the thing. Yeah, we figured it was you, Mac. Hope you're Hope you're healing up all right. So, but yeah, no, I don't see him going there. Realistically, outside of maybe the Niners, I don't see DJ getting picked up. Like, who's going to go grab him? I mean, I guess maybe Miami, right? Miami might do that.
I mean, Miami
serviceable backup, right?
I was gonna say Miami might do it, but it's thinking freaking what, they're 5-0 with Tua, 5-1 with Tua. So I mean, that just goes to show you how important Tua is to that damn team.
Well, no, that's exactly why you potentially go get a good backup, right? Because when you look at Miami and, Tua's situation, right, the odds of Tua going down is decent, right? You assume that it's a real possibility. And, so you go get Jones. What, you could pick him up for $500,000 to finish out the season?
Probably, yeah.
So, I mean, I could see Miami maybe doing that. But any of the other teams, like, he's not going to go somewhere to lose, because he already has enough losing on his record. He doesn't want to put out you would assume he doesn't want to put out bad film. We've watched that hurt quarterbacks for years. Why would you go to a Raiders or a Cowboys or something like that, where you're just going to inevitably put out bad tape?
Mm-hmm. And the thing with Miami too is I think Thursday could go a long way for the Dolphins, where if they can go into Lambeau Thursday night and knock off the Packers on Thanksgiving, I think Miami's going to get themselves as that number 7 team in the playoffs. Because we've seen it every year. Like, when Tua is on that field, Miami is one of the better offenses in the AFC when Tua is on that field, and they're going to win games when he's on the field. That's been the issue. He's not healthy. But like this season, they're 5-1 with Tua, they're 0-5 with Tua. So now you're looking at, if you go into Green Bay and beat Green Bay, you're 6-1 with Tua, and you're 6-6 on the season. They can probably finish 3-2, 4-1 down the stretch to get to 10-7, and that probably puts them at that number 7 spot. And then at that point, you're probably getting a draw with Buffalo in the first round, who you're very familiar with. You're probably going to see maybe Kansas City in the first round, depending on how their season goes. Another team that, honestly, you can probably outscore them if it came down to it.
Yeah. I mean, sort of. I mean, they could hang with them for sure. The problem is they can't really stop anything. I mean, their defense is better than it was, but it's not good.
No, it's not good.
So, I mean, and KC's defense, although not as good as last year, is still a really good defense. And their offense has been starting to come together over the last couple of weeks. And Mahomes has been playing better over the last couple of weeks as well. So I don't know that they beat them in the playoffs. Like, they could, because they can put up points, but with the way the defense is, they're not going to keep KC from putting up points either.
Did you see the news that just came out with Baker Mayfield?
No.
Suing his brother and his dad?
Well, he's suing his dad's company for $12 million.
Yeah. I didn't read the details on it. I just saw the headline for it.
Yeah, he's suing his dad for $12 million because he's suing his dad and brother. Yeah. $12 million because his brother supposedly stole $12 million from his accounts. I
mean, that's a solid reason to do it. That's a chunk of money. I feel like I would miss $12 million.
Right.
What was he betting? That sounds a lot like a
betting debt.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean,
only if you're betting horribly.
I don't even know what his dad does. Now that he has to sue his dad's company, then I don't know what his dad even does if he's got to sue the company for the $12 million.
Yeah, I don't know. But if you are also bad at betting, you can take advantage of the 10% bet guarantee. If you use the QR code on the screen, you get 125% of your first 3 deposits. And like I said, 10% bet guarantee if you happen to be bad at it. Some restrictions do apply. And of course, if you are here in the Pacific Northwest, you can use this QR code here. Free 5-day pass at any of the 3 locations at True Fusion Gym, whether it's Bellevue, Ballard, or University Village. Find your edge at True Fusion Gym.
So Baker Mayfield's dad's company is Camwood Capital Management Group.
Yes, Rob. His brother was an interpreter.
Wow. Huh. Interesting. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my fantasy league. My fantasy league, everybody sucks except 3 teams.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. There's in the other division. This is their other division. This is by record. 11-1 is number 1. 9-3 is 2. 7-5 is 3.
Okay.
Then you have 2 teams at 5-7.
Okay.
That's 4 and 5. Our division, I'm in the lead at 5-7. Second place has got 5-7. Third place has got 5-7. And then 2 teams have got 4-8.
Wow. So all the good teams are in the other division.
Well, there's 3 good teams. Everybody else is under 500. And then again, not for nothing, I scored the 3rd highest in points. 3rd highest in points. Of course, I went up against the 2nd highest in points.
Naturally.
It amazes me.
Betting on Cleveland.
Well, the more it sounds, the more I read into this, the more it does sound like some sort of betting was taking place, because it basically says James and Matt Mayfield, so that would be his brother and his dad, and members of a related company acted without authorization, without proper documentation, and without adequate accounting to the transactions of millions of dollars that were moved from different accounts between 2018 and 2021.
I mean, that sounds like they were betting on him never noticing.
So yeah, why are you moving that much money to different accounts and obviously not using a paper trail basically to do it?
Yeah, and where in the Caymans is that account?
So now somehow Baker Mayfield finally found out about it.
Yeah, because you just had $12 million disappear. Like, even if you are printing money in your basement, you're going to notice 12 million disappearing.
Probably rather quickly too.
Yeah.
Don't you get like I get every time I use my card, I get a thing that says, "Hey, you just spent $20, on a beer." You know what I mean? Like really expensive beer, by the way. But
yeah, I was going to say I would also feel like I got ripped off.
But I mean, that's
don't go to Lambeau then.
Oh, I mean, that's like don't go to Vegas.
Don't go to Philly to buy a beer. What are you talking about? Like you go into that stadium, that's where the most expensive.
Yeah. Now, Seattle's not far behind you. Like it's a little bit ridiculous, but if you want to buy a poolside beer in Vegas, buckle up.
Well, no, actually, that's not so bad. Like if I spent $100 on a bucket of High Noons,
okay,
which is 6.
Yep.
That's not so bad. 6 beers for $99 or 6 High Noons for $99 was, I thought, a good deal in Vegas.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is we're talking about Vegas where everything, I miss Vegas when it was affordable and fun.
Right. When it was like when they had National Lampoon's, Vegas Vacation, and he's playing War for $1.
Yeah. I mean, like I remember going there and like, flights were cheap, places to stay were cheap because they were trying to get you to gamble, right? And so like buffets were reasonable, and I mean, drinks were relatively cheap or free if you were gambling, and then they changed their whole strategy to Vegas is a family town, which is hilarious because it shouldn't be. And now everything is crazy expensive, and it makes me want to go there less than I used to.
Yeah, I hate Vegas. I hate going to Vegas.
Yeah.
So it shows that Philadelphia is ranked 22nd in the NFL in beer prices.
Say it again.
It says Philadelphia is ranked 22nd in the NFL in beer prices.
Since when? When was that written?
I literally just searched that right now, and I will find when this was
look at the article date, though.
September 12th, 2024.
Wow.
I tell you, it was. We were number 1.
How much are you paying for beers right now in Philly when you go to a game, typically?
Like $16.25.
Washington Commanders are $19.49 for a beer. They top the list.
That's ridiculous.
Well, so they got to pay for that new stadium somehow.
What? Where did Seattle land now? Then
Seattle. I'll pull that back up. Seattle, I think, is actually right around where Philly is. So it says Philly's at 11.25, which I don't think that's right, anyways. But every other team behind Philly's like in the $16, $17 range. So you have the Jets are $16 even, the Giants are $16 even, the Chargers and the Rams.
I would hope that the Jets and the Giants are basically the same. It's the same stadium, man.
Well, you never know. The Vegas Raiders are second on the list at $18.99, and then you have the Buccaneers at $18.25. 49ers are at $18. Rams and Chargers are at $18 a beer. Jets and Giants are at $18 a beer. Houston $17.75. The Dolphins are $17. And then Seattle is actually slightly cheaper than Philadelphia by 35 cents.
Yeah.
Well, it's an $18 Pepsi, Joe. I wouldn't be that excited about it.
and then the Atlanta Falcons have the cheapest beer in professional sports at $5.25 a beer.
Where was that?
Atlanta.
Okay.
Because their Arthur Blank, when he built the stadium, he made it a point to have the cheapest concession stands in professional sports. So everything at Atlanta is $10 or under. So even if you get a combo meal, your combo meal is going to be like $9.75.
I appreciate that. Like, that's awesome.
And that's basically what he said. He's like, if people are going to spend hundreds of dollars of their hard-earned money to come watch my team play, I at least want to make it affordable for the families to eat when they come to my stadium. So he basically set there are like 2 or 3 things on the menu that are like $15 to $20 because they're like specialty meals and things like that. But like your standard like hot dog and a drink with like a side or whatever, there's nothing over $10 if you go.
I like that. There's the rest of the stadium should do something like that.
Right, like sodas are like $3 at Atlanta. Regular hot dogs like $3.50. Like everything is like super cheap. My brother was just there for a game and he brought like $150. And he's like, I only spent like $30. I'm like, yeah, because their concessions are freaking cheap.
Yeah, no, that's great because like there's no reason for my wife and I to go to a game, park, and get something to eat and have it be $1,000.
And then even
I feel like that's ridiculous.
Even when the Super Bowl goes to Atlanta's new stadium, Arthur Blank even said, "You're not raising the prices for the Super Bowl. Like this is my stadium. These are my concession prices. If you want to use the stadium, you let me sell those concessions for what I want to sell them for."
I mean, that's kind of awesome.
That's why they're not having the Super Bowl there?
No, they are. They're bringing it back, but that's why. No, they're bringing it back. I think 2028 is when it goes back there, but they tried to get it the last couple of years because it's a newer stadium. And yet they couldn't come to an agreement because the NFL wanted to charge whatever they usually charge for like concession prices. And Arthur Blank's like, no, I specifically put these prices in for a reason. If you're going to use my stadium, you abide by my concession stand rules. And eventually the NFL finally said, fine, we'll do it. So now they get the Super Bowl in 2027 or 2028.
Imagine having enough money to be like, you know what, NFL, I don't want your Super Bowl pound sand.
I mean, he does own Home Depot, so he's got plenty of money.
No, for sure. That's what I mean. Like, imagine having just FU money where you can tell the NFL that you just don't care about their program.
I mean, no, he cares about it because obviously it's money to the stadium, but he's not going to be one of those owners that basically caves and says, fine, I'll sell my shit for whatever price you want me to sell it for the Super Bowl. It's like, no, this was my idea. This is the reason why I did that. If you want to come here and use it, then you listen to me and my concession prices. He says you can charge tickets for more. He's letting him charge parking for more. He's letting him do the merchandise sales for more money. The only thing he will not let the NFL touch is his concession stand prices because he specifically set those for a reason.
I mean, I feel like the family members that would be struggling to pay higher prices for food aren't going to the Super Bowl anyway.
No, exactly. But it's just a general like of what he wanted to do that for. Like even when the soccer team plays there, like the soccer team still does the same thing because they play in his stadium.
Yeah.
Right. So speaking of soccer, the Seattle Sounders beat LA.
Yeah, they did.
I liked that.
Good old Brian Schmetzer.
I gotta admit, I don't watch.
Your Sounders are in the conference championship, and you have no idea.
Yeah,
they play the LA Galaxy next Saturday in the conference finals.
Yep. Nope. I don't follow soccer at all. Just don't get into it. And I mean, and we've had a great team.
Yeah, you have.
But yeah, can't get into it. I don't know.
All right, well then that's all we said about that. Nobody cares. Try to bring in some culture into this show, and you just freaking shit on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we do here. You keep that culture off this show.
Hey, I will admit, though, that Seattle and Atlanta do have the two best environments when it comes to soccer in the MLS. Like, their games are freaking nuts. Like, Atlanta averages like 50,000 a game. Seattle,
They sell out that stadium for soccer.
Well, they block off the top row in Atlanta. So they sell out like the bottom 50,000 in the bottom bowls. They don't let them sit in the top bowls for soccer unless it's like the MLS championship, which was there, I think, 3 years ago. Same thing with Seattle. Like, Seattle will block off the very top section at their field, but they're still drawing 40 to 45,000 for a game when most MLS stadiums are only holding 18 to 22. So you're getting double the people in those two stadiums. Like, those environments for those two venues are sick for soccer.
Yeah, no, it says what the average attendance for a Sounders game is 30,000.
Yeah,
that's solid.
And most MLS stadiums are only between 18 and 22,000, so their average attendance is more than what even most MLS stadiums can hold.
So, well, Joe, as you're saying that you're probably the only Italian that doesn't like soccer, but I'd be willing to bet you still have a soccer team. If you had to like soccer, that you have a team that you would root for more than anybody else. Because you live in that neighborhood.
Like that would be like me, where I don't get into soccer at all. I would take the Homer approach. Like, I would support my team.
Right.
But I don't care.
I mean, even if you were like a casual fan, like there's some soccer fans that'll just start watching their team if they're good. You would be like fortunate enough to be like, Seattle's consistently good every single year. Like, they're always in the playoffs every single year. They're always making a deep playoff run. So even if you were like the casual fan that's like, oh, I'll watch when the playoffs start. Well, you'll be watching at least 1 or 2 games every year because they're always in the playoffs.
Yeah. So Joe's like me. Like, I have a local team and they're good. I watch 0 games. Yeah.
So I have no, skin in the game out there either. My whole family is a Lazio fan. So when I go there, I start rooting for Roma.
AC Roma?
Right. Which they don't like. Then they start speaking to me in Italian and get angry that I don't know any Italian.
At the same time, it's probably better that you don't know any Italian.
I'm like, grazie, prego, that's it.
Right.
See, like, for me, like, obviously, I like the Chicago Fire for soccer because they're the closest team to Wisconsin, them or Minnesota.
Okay.
But when it comes to, like, the Premier League and things like that, there's so many teams that I like. I more so like a player. So when that player is playing for that team, I pay more attention to the team they're on. And then if they go to a different team, I kind of start following that team just because there's so many teams out there. So, like, right now, the teams that I'm watching right now is with Kylian Mbappe. He's playing for a team out in France. He's the new Ronaldo, the new Messi, because he's like a 25-year-old freak. So, like, what Ronaldo and Messi have been for the last 15, 20 years, that's what Kylian Mbappe is turning into right now.
I mean, I will watch. I'll watch the U.S. women's team. I'll watch that because they'll go and beat up on each other. There's less crying. I think that's actually the biggest turnoff for soccer to me is the like roll around on the ground and cry about everything. Like, I have a hard time with the flop. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I can't watch the NBA either. Like, everything's I'm falling and flopping on the ground, and I need a million, foul, free throws. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't. It's a sport. Like, go play the thing. And so that it's probably one of my biggest turnoffs to soccer is that. Whereas the women's side tends to have less of it. Like, they'll be bleeding on the out on the field. And like, okay, here we go. It's a sport. Let's go.
I mean, for me, like, I played so long, I always hated when people did that too, because it's just like, seriously, you fell on the ground, you didn't break your arm, get up.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, you get somebody that, like, barely brushes against them, and then they're rolling on the ground, grabbing their knee. It's like, you didn't even touch your knee, man. Come on.
Like, there was
like Family Guy style. It's like,
Yeah, there's 2 instances when I was playing where I broke a kid's jaw with my forehead. And that kid actually showed less pain than somebody that tripped on his own 2 feet and fell on the ground. Like the kid didn't even
what
fall
I'm talking
over.
about. Like if you break your jaw, you know what? Cool. Come out for a play or two. It's all right.
And then the other,
you don't use your face that much, but
and then the other kid, I ended up giving him 14 facial fractures with my knee, and he actually got legitimately knocked out, and the ambulance got called. And then when the ambulance got there, the kid's like, "No, I want to stay in the game." You kind of can. You're pretty much done at this point.
No, but like that, I get, right? Like, okay, you took a knee to the face, rightfully so. You're probably not finishing the day. Right? Or you broke your jaw or whatever. Somebody flicks your ear and then you roll on the ground for 5 minutes. Like I'm good.
Right.
They got to bring out the magic spray.
Yeah, right?
Wow, so it's magically better.
So annoying.
It's amazing. Yeah. So that's actually the biggest hindrance to me watching soccer is the flopping. It makes me mad. As soon as I see the first one, I'm like, I'm out.
So what is in that spray, that magic spray? Is that like Lanacaine?
I don't even know.
I figure it's like a cocaine type thing that's like gives you nummies.
For sure it is.
I know it's got smelling salt in it and some sort of a smelling salt mix, but I don't know what's all in it. I've never had it for me, but I've had several of my teammates have had it for like when they've had one kid dislocated his ankle and they popped it back in and they sprayed that on his ankle and like 5 minutes later he was like good to go. It's like, what the hell do you put in that shit?
Yeah.
He don't like.
Exactly.
Cocaine.
might as well be for some of those injuries that you just spray that crap on there. It's like good as new. Let's go.
Yeah. No, it's that being said, if I could get a can of that would be awesome. And not for anything extravagant. It's just me like climbing out of bed. Crunch, spray, off we go.
I think you need a severe pain to have it work that way. Like if you have like a lumbering pain, like oh my back really hurts. Let me try some of that spray. Psst. Oh, my back really hurts, and now I've got some of this smelly spray on me. You know what I mean? I think that's. I mean,
unless it's loaded with cocaine, and then I don't know. Maybe I'm super efficient.
Yeah, well then I'd be like, my teeth.
One way to find out.
The thing that annoys me more in soccer now than even ever before, because it wasn't necessarily a thing, is the stupid male sports bra that all these damn soccer players are wearing.
We've seen it around the NFL a little bit too.
It freaking annoys the shit out of me because every time like they take their shirt off celebrating a goal, you see these male sports bras. I'm like, really? Like, what the hell? What are we doing? Why are you wearing a male sports bra? Like, what is the point of that?
I mean, you had Joe Burrow showing up in a pantsuit. Like, what do you want? Like,
I would like someone to actually wear a soccer jersey with just nothing underneath because it's a freaking t-shirt. Like, I don't know why you need a male sports bra. Like, it does nothing.
It's for
maybe
the chafing.
It does though.
It's the chafing.
Yeah, wear an undershirt then.
That's what they're doing.
That's not an undershirt.
It's just a compression undershirt that only goes like a half shirt.
Yeah, it's a tummy shirt. It's fine. Because I mean, we watched what Kyler Murray was wearing them last year. I think what Zeke has worn him his whole career.
Well, I mean, Zeke's got big enough boobs to wear one anyways because he's a little bit overweight, but he's got to hold those in place.
That's right. Got to keep them from bouncing. That's the thing. Yeah, I don't really get it either, but
if you have a hot date, use it instead of Viagra. The spray. What are we talking about? I'm not
does he know from personal experience, or why are we saying this?
The man bra or the spray? Like I'm lost now. That made a left-hand turn.
Right. Seemed accurate for this show, though.
I think I put that in the comments. We talk about sports and everything else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, on that note, not particularly that note, but non-sports related note. Stat guy, since you're done for the rest of the week here, what do you got going for Turkey Day?
We go to my mom's every Thursday just because they leave their snowbirds. So when the snow starts falling, they leave. So they typically leave right after Christmas until the end of April. So we go to their house for Thanksgiving on Thursday. Then they leave for 2 weeks to get their house ready in Arizona. Then they'll come back for Christmas and we'll spend Christmas with them and then they'll leave again. But tomorrow I'm out. What am I doing tomorrow? I'm going to Chicago tomorrow to pick my brother up from the airport because he works in Georgia, which is why I won't be on the show tomorrow. So then I'm driving him to my mom's Wednesday night or whatever. And then Friday, I should be on Friday. I just might be late Friday.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just off tomorrow and Thursday, obviously. What about you guys?
Not entirely sure. Like I had a plan and then it got sort of messed up yesterday. So now I'm not entirely sure. It's a game time decision.
Nice.
So I'm reading this that Soto is down to 5 teams.
Okay.
Realistically, he's probably down to 2 or 3 teams, but
Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Red Sox, and Blue Jays.
I would say Red Sox and Blue Jays are the least likely. So I think it's down to those 3 on top.
And the fact that Philly's not in the mix here is actually, I like that. Because we'll be like that dark horse. But they're never going to give $700 million to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like there's a lot of teams that were never in the running, really.
Well, that's why I want to know, like, if the Blue Jays and Red Sox are supposedly in the mix, or if they've supposedly have given him an offer, is he really asking for $700 million? And if not, what kind of offer did the Blue Jays or the Red Sox give him? Because I don't see the Red Sox or the Blue Jays forking over $700 million. The other 3 teams, I do see that, but I don't see that coming from the Blue Jays or the Red Sox.
It also depends on how long the contract is for the 700, right? Because if it's one of those like 12 or 13, then, because at the end of the contract, you're just throwing the money away, right? Like that's what the last few years of it are, is you're hoping to win with these guys in the first, in the next 5 or 6 years. And then the backside of that contract, you're getting torched.
Yeah, I think maybe the way I look at it, maybe from Toronto and Boston side of things, maybe they offered him a shorter contract, like 5 or 6 years with a higher AAV. So if the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets all said, we'll give you 10, 11 years at $600-700 million, maybe you have the Red Sox and Blue Jays saying, we'll give you 5 years at $450 million. That's $90 million a year as opposed to $65-70 million a year.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if you're betting on yourself to stay healthy and all of that. Like in some ways, if someone were to offer me $700 million for 12 years, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm probably going to play competitively for 5 of that. Or I could get a little bit more per year, but there's a chance that I flame out just before the end of that contract. I might take that longer one.
It just depends on where he wants to live, though, too. Like, obviously, if he wants to live in New York for 12 years, Los Angeles for 12 years, or if he's one of those guys where it's like, nah, I don't like these cities that much. I'll take 5 years in Toronto and Boston and figure it out from there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd have to really not like the place, because it's funny how 700 million can make me like a location for a while.
Right.
Like I could live in some cities that I may not ever want to live in for $700 million.
I could. I would not do Atlanta, though, for $700 million.
Okay. Like outside of getting shot, like what are you worried about for Atlanta?
Everyone says Chicago traffic is terrible. Atlanta traffic is the effing worst. I don't wish Atlanta traffic on anybody. Screw that shit.
Come out to the West Coast. Our roads are always destroyed.
Oh, I've been to the West Coast, but Atlanta traffic is effing terrible. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
I still feel like for 700 mil, like you could probably find something pretty damn close to the stadium.
700 million, I'd probably have my own freaking private helicopter with a pilot and be like, no, we're not going to drive in the traffic today. Just fly me over the top and drop me somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny the options that 700 million gives you.
Hey, there's always there's more ways to die the more money you have.
That's right. But at least they're more fun.
Right.
Because the way they are when you're broke is probably getting hit by a car crossing the street.
Kobe didn't feel that way.
Well, I mean, he didn't probably see it coming, though, because he was flying into some really dense fog. So that was probably just like momentary terror.
Yeah, it's almost like El Kabong. Watch out for that tree. It's. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, but
you guys do with anything at the bar for Thanksgiving, pigs? Like, do you guys?
So the bar opens up very early, and they broadcast the local high school game.
Oh, cool.
Now, I was going to go to the local high school game. Huh?
Like a state game or just like a?
It's Ridley versus Interboro.
Okay.
So it's not a state game, but it's they play each other every year
on Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Just like an exhibition style game.
No, like
over, right?
Yeah, that's the end of the season.
Oh, okay.
Unless you have the playoffs.
Yeah,
I got you.
Well, you guys start late for the playoffs.
We do start a little late for
playoffs.
Hey,
everybody else is like done this week, or most teams got done last week for the playoffs. Like we ended last week. Minnesota, Illinois, and Michigan end this weekend.
No, yeah, I think maybe it was like an after season exhibition kind of game.
No, I think that the championship game for states is actually the second week in December. So there's 2 more weeks left, I think.
I got you.
But that's why a lot of great players come from here, because Texas does the same thing. Their state championships is like in a couple of weeks.
They're after Christmas. I think they're actually New Year's weekend, so like January or December, like 28th and 29th. I think is Texas' state championship.
But yeah, because they get to go play at AT&T.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm with you here, Joe. Like I'm not a turkey fan, so I would throw down on some pizza also. Usually, what I'll do is if I'm hosting, I will not do turkey, and I will do I'll do a ribeye.
We're first time for Thanksgiving that my mom is not doing turkey this year. She's doing prime rib and ham.
Yeah,
prime rib.
Prime rib and ham we're going with this year. She got a 12-pound prime rib. I'm like, I'm good with that.
I mean, yeah.
Through the ham, I will just have the prime rib. But if you want to send the ham home with me, that's fine. But
I was going to say, I'll throw down on the ham too. But turkey, I'm just,
I mean, I like turkey, but she's the same way. It just takes way too long to prep it. And it's just too much work to prep it, where you get the prime rib, you just throw it in the oven at 7 a.m., you cook it for 6 hours, and it's done. You don't got to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Not how I would cook a prime rib, but okay.
Yeah, even when turkey's done right, it's
I don't mind. I like turkey, actually.
Like it's all right. It's all right. It's better with gravy. So, I can get into it that
way. Our bars over here are the exact opposite of you, though. Like, all the bars around here stay closed until about 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And then they open at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night. And some of them even do like a Thanksgiving dinner at like 6 o'clock at night for the ones that don't have family around here, or the ones that just didn't have time to prep a Thanksgiving dinner. Like, a lot of the bars will just open at 6 for like a Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, we open again. We close and then we open. So we close like at around, like, I think it's like 1 o'clock. That's when the game's over and everybody comes back and has a beer or whatever, and then they close. Because Wednesday night is typically, tomorrow night's typically the biggest night of the year for bars. So it's also usually amateur night. So definitely don't go out driving anywhere. But like usually everybody comes here, so it becomes like a big class reunion almost.
Yeah, they're usually pretty busy because nobody wants to do anything because they have so much prep for tomorrow. So they're just like, hey, let's go hit the bar, have a drink before we got to do family stuff.
Well, I mean, the night before Thanksgiving has typically always been.
No. That's what I mean.
The busiest night of the year for bars.
No, that's what I mean, though. It's because a lot of people, they're not going to be home. They are doing all the prep for the next day. So they're like, well, I'm not cooking more stuff. So let me go to the bar, have a drink before we do a lot of family stuff and, lots of cooking and all of the things that go with Turkey Day. The day before is, let me get out of the house for a minute.
Right.
I like it. Green Bay's bars are going to be Obviously, they're opening up Thursday night because of the football game, obviously. But it's going to be Friday that Green Bay is going to be slammed because of all the Black Friday shopping, because they have like 3 malls in Green Bay. Like all the bars typically in Wisconsin open at about 10 a.m. Like Monday through Friday, they open at 10 a.m. All the bars are opening at 7 a.m. on Friday because all the husbands will go to the bars while the wives are out shopping, and then the wives will just pick the husbands up when they're done and drive them home.
Well,
that's why I love it.
A lot of the bars stopped closing early on Thanksgiving because so many of the Black Friday sales now start that night.
Yep, and there is one bar in my hometown, because I live in like a little shithole of a town that's like 10,000 people where everybody knows everybody.
You should be on their tourism board. That's a glowing endorsement.
Well, it's just like a hole in the earth where if you don't live in Wisconsin, you've never heard of the town, you wouldn't know where the town is. But there is one bar that's in my town that stays open 24 hours on Thanksgiving. Like they open up at 6 o'clock at night, Thanksgiving night, and they will stay open all night, all the way through Friday, and then close at like 1 a.m. on Saturday. So they're actually open like 36 straight hours once they open.
Are they allowed to do that?
Yes, they're allowed. They get clearance from the city. They get clearance from the state to be open one day a year for 24 hours. That's the day that they pick. The only stipulation is they cannot sell alcohol between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. So they have to stop selling alcohol for that 5-hour stretch, and then they can start selling again at 8 a.m.
You can pre-order for that 5-hour stretch at 1:45, where you can put in your order for the next 5 hours. That I would like 6 beers per hour.
That's what I was thinking, and be like, yeah. So
they probably do. They probably do. They probably do. Honestly, I just know like state laws in Wisconsin, you're not allowed to sell alcohol between like 1:30 a.m. and 6.
They have the blue laws. They got blue laws.
So whatever that law is, they have to follow. They can be open 24 hours, but they still got to follow that alcohol sales law where you have to stop.
You've already bought it.
Well, yeah, they do. They do quite well the next couple of days. That bar is probably how they make enough money to stay open for 4 hours or 4 months. If they wanted to close for 4 months, the money they're going to make in this next 2 days would be enough to probably support them for the next 4 months.
Right.
Fair enough. Right on. Well, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our stuff to you. And if you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Stat Guy, enjoy the rest of your week.
You guys too. See you guys Friday.
See you tomorrow.
See you Friday.
Later, guys.
Yep.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand.